Ethan Clark had never seen a place like Virelia. The moment he stepped out of the small transport ship, he felt a strange mix of fear and excitement. The planet was alive. The sky shimmered with 3 suns, each one casting a different color over the landscape. Crystalline towers rose from the ground, reflecting light like giant jewels. Strange plants moved slightly, almost as if they were breathing. Ethan's heart raced. This was no ordinary diplomatic mission. This was a step into a world humans had never truly understood. Ethan adjusted the strap of his bag and took a deep breath. He was the human messenger. His job was simple in theory: deliver Earth's proposal for peace and trade to the Zalaran royal court. In reality, he had no idea what he would face. Stories about the Zalarans were frightening. They were beautiful beyond belief. But they were proud and cautious. One small mistake could start a war. A hovering vehicle approached, gliding silently over the glowing ground. It stopped in front of him, and a tall, thin figure stepped out. Her skin shimmered like polished silver, and her eyes glowed faintly green. She was dressed in flowing robes that seemed alive with colors shifting as she moved. She did not speak, but her gaze was sharp, observing Ethan closely. "You must be Ethan Clark," she said finally, her voice soft but firm. "Yes," Ethan replied, bowing slightly out of habit. "I am here to deliver Earth's message of peace." The figure nodded, and a small smile appeared on her face. "I am Princess Lyra," she said. "Welcome to Virelia." Ethan could not help but notice how unusual she looked. Her hair floated slightly as if in water, and her eyes seemed to see right through him. He felt nervous, but he reminded himself to stay calm. "You will come with me," Princess Lyra said, gesturing to the vehicle. "The palace is prepared." Ethan followed her, climbing into the hovercraft. The ride was smooth, and he looked out at the strange world passing beneath him. Forests of crystal trees, rivers of liquid light, and animals that looked like glowing jellyfish floated through the air. He had read reports of alien planets before, but this was far beyond anything he had imagined. As they approached the palace, Ethan felt his stomach tighten. The palace was enormous, built from the same shimmering crystal as the towers he had seen before. Light bounced off every surface, creating a rainbow of colors inside the main hall. Xylaran guards, tall and elegant with glowing armor, lined the corridors. They watched Ethan closely, their expressions unreadable. Princess Lyra led him into a private room. The room was simple compared to the palace halls. A large window looked out over the city. Ethan could see floating gardens and towers in the distance. He turned to speak, but the princess held up a hand. "Before we begin any formal talks," she said, her tone playful, "I must ask you something." Ethan blinked. "Yes?" She tilted her head slightly and smiled. "Do you find me ugly, human?" Ethan froze. He had expected strange questions, tests of intelligence, or perhaps riddles. But this was unexpected. He stared at her for a moment, trying to measure what kind of answer would be safe. Then he laughed, not mockingly, but in genuine surprise. "Ugly? No, not at all," he said honestly. Princess Lyra raised an eyebrow, a small smile playing on her lips. "Really? You are the first human who did not hesitate or stammer when asked this." Ethan shrugged, feeling slightly embarrassed. I guess I just don't see it that way. You're different, beautiful, in a way I've never seen before." Her smile widened, and she studied him more closely. "Different," she repeated. "Interesting. Humans are strange creatures. You do not fear my appearance. You do not judge quickly." Ethan relaxed slightly. He had always believed in honesty. On Earth, lies could sometimes save a person, but honesty showed courage. Maybe that was what she respected. For the next hour, Princess Lyra asked him questions about Earth, its people, and its culture. Ethan explained simply, trying to use words she might understand. He spoke of oceans, mountains, cities, and even simple human traditions. She listened quietly, nodding occasionally, but there was a spark of curiosity in her eyes. "You humans are peculiar," she said finally. "You fight wars and yet create beauty. You destroy, yet you build. Why is that?" Ethan thought for a moment. "I think humans are strong because we never give up. We make mistakes, yes, but we try again, and we learn. We care for each other even when it is hard. That is our strength." Princess Lyra looked at him carefully. "Strength is not only in the body," she said. "I see it in you. You are not afraid of what is unknown. You are not dazzled by my appearance. You think and act with your mind and heart. That is rare." Ethan felt a strange pride. It was not just a compliment. It was respect from someone who was considered one of the most intelligent and beautiful beings in the galaxy. Their conversation was interrupted by a soft chime. A guard entered quietly, bowing. "Princess Lyra, the council awaits your presence for the ceremonial greeting." Lyra stood, brushing her robes gently. "Very well. Human, you will accompany me." Ethan followed her, walking through corridors that seemed endless. The walls were transparent in places, revealing gardens, waterfalls, and floating creatures. The air smelled sweet, like a mixture of flowers and something electric. Every step he took made him feel smaller, yet more alive. Finally, they reached the grand hall. Zalaran nobles filled the space, all dressed in elaborate clothing. Their eyes glowed faintly, and their features were sharp and beautiful. Ethan felt nervous. He had read that the nobles could be cruel to outsiders. Any wrong word, any gesture, could anger them. Princess Lyra raised her hand, and the hall fell silent. "Citizens of Virelia," she said, her voice echoing softly, "I present to you a visitor from another world. He comes with a message of peace from Earth." The nobles looked at Ethan, some with curiosity, others with skepticism. A few whispered to each other. Ethan tried to smile, standing tall despite his racing heart. One of the older nobles stepped forward, her eyes glowing a deep blue. "You are human," she said, her tone sharp. "Do you understand the customs of our people?" Ethan nodded. "I will do my best to learn and respect your ways." The noble studied him for a moment, then nodded. "We shall see if your words match your actions." Princess Lyra stepped closer to Ethan, and he noticed how her presence seemed to calm him. "Do not worry," she whispered. "They will test you, but you are clever. I can see it already." Ethan took a deep breath. He had no idea what awaited him in this alien world, but he felt a strange confidence. He had survived difficult missions before, but nothing like this. This was a world where humans were outsiders, where beauty and intelligence were beyond anything he had seen, and where one wrong move could mean disaster. Yet beside Princess Lyra, he felt something he had never felt before. Hope. And maybe something more. The council began their formal questioning, testing his knowledge of diplomacy, history, and logic. Ethan answered carefully, honestly, and sometimes with humor. To his surprise, the nobles seemed intrigued. A few even smiled at his responses. He noticed that Princess Lyra watched him closely, her eyes filled with a mixture of amusement and something deeper. Hours passed, and by the end of the day, Ethan had survived the first real test of his mission. Princess Lyra led him to a smaller chamber to rest. He sat down, exhausted but relieved. "You surprised me today, human," Lyra said softly. "Most would have faltered, most would have bowed too much or laughed nervously. You did not." Ethan chuckled. "I didn't know I could impress an alien princess." Lyra smiled, the first genuine, relaxed smile he had seen from her. "You have done more than that. You have made me curious. That is rare. Ethan felt warmth in his chest. Curiosity, interest, connection. He had not expected to find friendship here, let alone a bond that felt unusual, important, and strangely comforting. "Do you always ask people if they find you ugly?" he asked, grinning. Lyra laughed softly, the sound like chimes in the wind. "Only humans. I wanted to see if you were honest and unafraid. You passed." Ethan smiled. "Then I guess I am in luck." She tilted her head, studying him. "Yes, human. You are in luck, and so am I." The sun set over Virelia, painting the sky in colors he had no names for. Ethan looked out at the horizon, at the glowing towers, floating gardens, and alien life, and he realized that this was only the beginning. The galaxy was vast, dangerous, and beautiful, and for the first time, he felt ready to face it. The next morning, Ethan Clarke woke to the soft glow of Virelia's 3 suns filtering through the tall crystal windows of the palace. He stretched and rubbed his eyes, still amazed that he was here. In a world so far from Earth, every corner of the palace felt alive. The air smelled faintly sweet and electric at the same time. For a moment, he felt a pang of homesickness, but it was quickly replaced by excitement. Today, he would spend more time with Princess Lyra and learn more about the Xylaran culture. A soft knock came at the door. "Enter," Ethan said, straightening his shirt. Princess Lyra stepped inside, her hair floating gently as she moved. "Good morning, human," she said, her voice calm but playful. "Are you ready for another day of learning and observation?" Ethan chuckled. "I think I am, Princess, though I am not sure what I am learning yet." Lyra smiled. "You will learn more than you think. Come, walk with me." They moved through the palace halls, which glowed with shifting colors. Xylaran guards and servants watched silently as they passed, but Ethan noticed that many seemed curious rather than hostile. The palace felt alive, not just with light and architecture, but with the energy of a culture that was proud and old. "Tell me, Ethan," Lyra asked suddenly, "do humans always laugh when they are nervous?" Ethan stopped and thought. "Not always," he said slowly. "Sometimes we do it when we are surprised or when we are unsure how to react." "Why do you ask?" Lyra tilted her head, her eyes narrowing slightly. "Because you laughed yesterday. You laughed when I asked if you found me ugly. Most humans would have been afraid. Most would have bowed or said something false. You did not." Ethan smiled faintly. "I guess I just didn't see a reason to be afraid. You asked a question. I gave an answer. It seemed simple enough." "Simple," Lyra repeated, almost as if savoring the word. "Humans are strange. You are brave in ways I did not expect. You think with your mind, not just with fear or pride. That is unusual." Ethan shrugged. "I guess it's just how humans survive. We adapt, we learn, and we try to do what is right." Lyra studied him for a long moment. Then she smiled, a small, approving smile. "Good. Then let us begin." They entered a large hall filled with objects Ethan had never seen before. There were devices that floated in the air, displays of glowing images and strange tools with no obvious purpose. Lyra gestured to a glowing table in the center. "This is the Xylaran history table," she said. "It shows our history, our wars, our achievements. You may look, but do not touch the images unless I permit it." Ethan leaned forward, fascinated. He watched as the table displayed battles, grand ceremonies, and moments of discovery. The Xylarans were older than humans, older than most civilizations in the galaxy. They had built cities in the sky, traveled to distant planets, and survived threats that humans could not imagine. "They are impressive," Ethan said softly. "Very advanced." Lyra nodded. "Yes, they are. And yet humans have something Xylarans often lack. You adapt, you improvise, you act with heart as well as mind. That is why I am curious about you. You are a human among stars, and yet you are not afraid. Ethan felt a little embarrassed. I am not sure I am as brave as you think. I just try to do my best. Lyra's eyes softened. Bravery is not always about strength. Sometimes it is about being honest, being willing to face the unknown and acting with your mind. You have all of these qualities. As they continued through the hall, Lyra stopped in front of a series of floating crystals. Each crystal contained a scene from Zillaran life, markets, schools, and celebrations. She touched one lightly, and images began to move, showing daily life on Virelia. Look closely, human, she said. This is our world, outside the palace walls. Our people work, learn, and live with pride. They value honor, knowledge, and beauty above all. But they can also be unforgiving. Ethan nodded. He noticed how different the Xylarans were from humans. They moved with elegance, spoke with precision, and seemed to carry themselves with natural authority. But he also saw moments of humor, curiosity, and even kindness in their eyes. Do humans value beauty like Xylarans? Lyra asked suddenly. Ethan thought for a moment. I think humans value many things. Beauty is important to some, but courage, intelligence, and kindness are also valued. People are judged by what they do, not just by how they look. Lyra laughed softly. Strange humans, you value what is inside, not only what is outside. That is rare in the galaxy. Ethan smiled. I think it is important. Outer beauty fades. What is inside lasts. Lyra studied him closely. You speak with wisdom, human. Perhaps that is why I find you interesting. They spent the rest of the morning exploring the palace gardens. Ethan had never seen anything like them. Flowers glowed in soft blues and purples. Trees seemed to float above the ground, their roots twisting in the air. Streams of liquid light flowed through the garden, and creatures that looked like glowing birds and insects flitted about. Lyra showed him how to move carefully through the garden. Some plants react to touch, she explained. Do not harm them. Respect the life here. Ethan nodded. Of course. I would not want to hurt anything. As they walked, they came to a small bridge over a sparkling river. Lyra stopped and leaned on the railing. Tell me, Ethan, do humans fight often? Ethan paused. Sometimes, he said honestly. We fight for survival, for justice, or to protect others. But we also create art, build cities, and explore the stars. We are complicated. Lyra tilted her head. Complicated indeed. I see that in you. You are not just a soldier or just a diplomat. You are a human who thinks, observes, and cares. That is unusual. Ethan felt warmth in his chest. No one had ever spoken to him like this before. He felt respected, not just as a messenger, but as a person. Their walk continued until mid-afternoon. Ethan began to feel tired, but he did not want the day to end. There was so much to learn, so much to see. Lyra noticed his weariness and smiled. You are working hard, human, she said. But even humans need rest. Come, I will show you your quarters. Ethan followed her to a smaller, cozy room. It was simple but elegant, with a bed that seemed to float slightly above the ground and a window that overlooked the city. He sat down, feeling exhausted but happy. Rest well, Lyra said softly. Tomorrow we will continue. There is much more for you to see, and much more for me to understand about humans. Ethan nodded. Thank you. Princess, I will rest. Before she left, Lyra paused. Ethan, remember this. You are not just a visitor here. You are part of something larger. Your actions, your thoughts, your courage, they matter. You may not realize it yet, but humans have a way of changing the world. Even here, among the stars. Ethan felt a shiver run down his spine. He did not fully understand what she meant, But her words gave him hope. Hope that humans could be more than outsiders, more than simple messengers. Hope that they could make a difference, even on a world as strange and beautiful as Virelia. As night fell, the three suns dipped below the horizon, casting the sky in colors Ethan had no names for. He lay on the floating bed, staring at the glowing ceiling, thinking about the day. He had learned about Xyloran culture, their values, and their beauty. He had seen Princess Lyra's curiosity and her subtle admiration, and he had begun to feel something he had never expected, a bond, fragile but growing, with someone who was completely different from him. Tomorrow would bring more challenges. There would be questions, tests, and maybe even dangers he could not yet imagine. But for the first time, Ethan felt ready to face the unknown, ready to show humans strength in a world that might underestimate them. And somewhere deep inside, he knew that his laugh yesterday, the simple act of honesty, had changed something. Not just in Princess Lyra, but in himself. He was not just a human among aliens. He was a human who could survive, who could think, and who could matter. Ethan closed his eyes, letting the soft glow of Virelia fill his mind. The galaxy was vast, beautiful, and dangerous. And he, a simple human from Earth, was already part of it. The next day, Ethan Clarke awoke to a soft hum in the palace corridors. The light of Virelia's suns filled his room with a gentle, shifting glow. He stretched and rubbed his eyes, still amazed at the beauty of this alien world. But today felt different. There was a tension in the air, something he could not quite place. Princess Lyra entered his quarters quietly, her hair floating slightly as always. She had a serious look on her face, different from her playful demeanor of the past 2 days. "Ethan," she said softly, "I need you to be careful today. There are people who do not want humans here. Not all Xylorans trust outsiders, even those who mean peace." Ethan frowned. "I understand, Princess. But why now? I have done nothing to offend anyone." Lyra's eyes softened. "It is not personal. Some nobles see humans as weak, unworthy of attention. They do not understand that humans are clever, resourceful, and persistent. You will need to show them that." Ethan nodded. "I will do my best." The palace halls were alive with activity that morning. Nobles moved quickly, guards adjusted positions, and servants floated silently carrying trays of glowing fruits and crystal vials. Ethan followed Lyra to the council chamber, a vast room filled with Xyloran leaders. Their eyes glowed faintly, reflecting the light of the room. Some looked at him with curiosity, others with clear skepticism. Lyra raised her hand, and the chamber fell silent. "Citizens of Virelia," she said, her voice calm but commanding. "We are here to discuss the future of our planet and the role humans may play in it. This visitor from Earth has come with a message of peace and cooperation." A tall noble, his skin shimmering faintly purple, stepped forward. "Princess, humans are fragile. They are untested in the ways of our people. Why should we trust them?" Ethan straightened. He had expected questions, but this felt like a test of courage. "I may be human," he said, "but humans have faced impossible challenges and survived. We adapt, we learn, and we use our minds to solve problems. I may not be strong like some Xylorans, but I think quickly, and I care about what is right." The noble's eyes narrowed. "Words are easy, actions are harder." Ethan smiled faintly. "Then I will show you, if given the chance." Lyra stepped closer to him, her presence calm and protective. "Let him speak. Humans often act differently than we expect. Sometimes their actions are their true strength." The chamber murmured with whispers. Some nobles seemed intrigued. Others were clearly doubtful. Ethan realized that he needed to prove himself in a way they could understand. Hours passed with discussions, questions, and debates. Then a sudden alert flashed across the chamber's walls, guards moving in unusual patterns, messages arriving too quickly. Lyra's expression hardened. "Something is wrong," she whispered to Ethan. "There is a faction plotting against the throne. They want to capture me and take control of Virelia. And they see humans as easy prey, weak and unimportant. They do not understand us. Or you." Ethan's mind raced. "What can I do?" Lyra glanced at him, a spark of trust in her eyes. "Use your human mind. Observe, think, and act. That is what humans are good at. I believe in you." The rest of the day became a test of survival and cleverness. Ethan followed Lyra and the guards through secret corridors, observing patterns, listening carefully, and noticing small details others ignored. He saw a guard lingering near a locked door too long and a servant acting nervously. Using simple logic, he deduced that the faction planning the coup had infiltrated the palace and intended to strike that night. Lyra's eyes widened. "How did you notice that?" Ethan shrugged. "Sometimes things are obvious if you just pay attention. People make mistakes, even smart ones. They underestimate humans." Lyra smiled faintly, a mix of relief and admiration. "Very good, Ethan. Now we must act carefully. We cannot confront them directly yet. We need a plan." The hours passed quickly. Ethan suggested using simple distractions and observation to catch the conspirators in the act. He recommended moving certain guards to key locations, checking corridors where shadows lingered, and setting small alerts using basic devices he had noticed in the palace. Lyra followed his instructions, impressed by his logical approach and lack of fear. As night fell, the palace shimmered under the glow of Virelia's moons. Ethan and Lyra moved quietly through the halls. The conspirators were already in motion, trying to reach the throne room. Using his observations, Ethan guided the Xyloran guards through hidden passages and controlled encounters that left the traitors confused and unprepared. Ethan's mind worked quickly. He remembered training exercises from Earth, using simple tactics, exploiting weaknesses, and staying calm under pressure. Each step was careful, calculated, and precise. Slowly, the palace was secured without anyone being harmed. Finally, they reached the main hall. The conspirators had cornered themselves, trapped by their own mistakes. Lyra entered gracefully, her presence commanding attention. "You have underestimated humans," she said, her voice cold but controlled. "And you have underestimated Virelia's defenders. Your plan has failed." Ethan watched quietly from her side. He felt a mix of pride and relief. He had not fought with weapons or used brute strength, but his thinking had prevented disaster. The nobles in the hall looked at him with surprise and respect. For the first time, they saw a human not as weak, but as clever and courageous. After the conspirators were detained, Lyra turned to Ethan. "You were brilliant," she whispered. "I have never seen a human think so clearly under pressure. You have saved me and the palace tonight." Ethan shook his head. "I just observed, thought, and acted. That is what humans do. We survive with our minds, not just our strength." Lyra smiled. "And that is why I am curious about humans. You are more than what you seem. You are clever, brave, and honest. I trust you, Ethan. Not everyone would have succeeded like this." Ethan felt warmth in his chest. He had never expected to gain trust so quickly in a world so alien. And yet, beside Lyra, he felt respected, appreciated, and even important. The palace was quiet now. The danger passed. Ethan and Lyra walked through the gardens, observing the glowing rivers and floating plants. The night air was cool and calm, and the stars shone brightly in the Virelian sky. "You humans are interesting," Lyra said softly. "You think, you adapt, and you act when others hesitate. You make mistakes, yes, But you learn quickly. That is your strength. Ethan smiled. We do what we must to survive, and we try to help others when we can. I guess that is why I am here. Lyra looked at him closely, her eyes glowing faintly. Yes, human. You are here not just by chance. You are here because your kind has something Xylarans often lack: courage, ingenuity, and a heart that acts beyond fear. You may not realize it yet, but you have changed how I see humans. Ethan felt a strange pride. It was not arrogance or vanity. It was the quiet satisfaction of knowing that he had survived, helped, and been recognized for his abilities. They walked in silence for a while, enjoying the soft glow of the garden and the quiet hum of the palace. Ethan realized that this was more than just a mission. This was an opportunity to show what humans were truly capable of, even in a world that seemed impossible. Suddenly, Lyra spoke again, her voice playful but serious. Do you see now why I asked you if I was ugly? Ethan laughed quietly. Yes, you were testing me, seeing if I could be honest and think clearly without being afraid. I guess I passed. Lyra smiled. Yes, you did. And tonight you have shown not only honesty, but courage and intelligence. Humans are rare in this galaxy, Ethan. Rare and unpredictable. Ethan chuckled. I never thought my human traits would impress aliens. Lyra's laughter was soft, melodic. They do, and that is why I am curious about your kind. You may be simple in some ways, but you have strengths that Xylarans often lack. You think in ways we do not. You act in ways we do not. And that makes you remarkable. Ethan felt a warmth in his chest he had not expected. He had not only survived a threat, but had earned the respect and admiration of a princess unlike any other being he had met. He realized that humans, even in an alien world, could matter, could make a difference, could be more than outsiders. The night grew deeper. Ethan and Lyra returned to the palace, the danger now behind them. But Ethan knew that the galaxy was vast and unpredictable. There would be more challenges, more tests, and more moments where humans would be underestimated. And he also knew one more thing. Beside Princess Lyra, he felt ready to face them all.